here are the contents for today's class. I'm going to share a well-known legend story with you for the first session, which is a legend. And after that, I'm going to introduce Ware to you. And in the end, we will get to know Shanghai, a very famous and modern city in China. Okay, so I guess you are all ready, right? So I'm going to start with the legend story called Yu, the Great Controls Flood. So actually, the main character of the story is Yu. And around 4,000 years ago, China was experiencing a very severe flood. People there were having a very hard life. So the flood actually destroyed their homes, wiped out their food supplies. So the Emperor Shun decided to appoint Yu to work on the flood control. And Yu spent a lot of time to study the mountains, the waterways, and try to figure out the reason caused the flood. So after that, instead of blocking the flood, he led the flood waters into the sea. So he spent years to clear the waterways and build levees, canals, and I think he's really clever and hardworking. Sorry. The flood control team happened to pass by his home 3 times during their work. I think he really missed his family, but he just walked away without entering his own house because he knows that if he don't control the flood, all their people's houses will be destroyed by the flood. So he spent 13 years for flood control around central China, and he finally made it work. All right, so this is the story. And what we learned from the Yu the Great. I think you may have some different ideas. I'm going to share with you what I have learned from the story. So first of all, he used the scientific method to deal with the flood. That means that he didn't just go to use the stones to block the flood. Instead of that, he actually led the flood water to the sea. And he devoted himself to work to put his personal interest behind. But is that what he really wants? In the first place, of course, he will miss his family a lot. But he knows that instead of going home, he has something really important to do. He needs to control the flood, and in that way, he helped a lot of families, not only his own family, but all the families around central China. So he's the model of diligence and selflessness, right? Is that like some same ideas as what you have learned from the story? I hope so, right? Okay, and there's one more very important point that he never gave up. I think that's really important during the work when you're facing some challenges or during like your study, when you prepare for the exam, just never give up. Okay. So the Emperor Shun was so impressed that he eventually handed his title to Yu. So according to the geography data, Yu divided China into 9 states. So as the new emperor, he decided to build 9 Ding to represent the 9 states for all the governors of the states. It will represent their authority and the power. Okay, so this is the picture of a Ding. This Ding actually comes with a cover and 4 legs. If it's hard for you to understand, I'll give you an example. Let's say in the Western world, every king has his crown, right? So the crown actually represents the power and authority. In ancient China, they use this ding to represent the power and authority. So remember, this ding actually has a cover and 4 legs, right? I'm going to introduce some other types of ding. Yeah, as you can see, actually you have different types of ding. Some without covers and some have 3 legs, or some actually have some designs on the leg, right? So you may ask, what is ding? Like, besides represent of power and authority, what does it use for, right? So ding is actually a type of bronzeware. And you can see the picture on the right corner. The earliest bronzeware found in China was around 5,000 years ago. So this ding actually used to recognize and record one's work. For example, if the minister did something with the king, like he helped the king very well, and the king may erect a ding to recognize and record his work. Also, in ancient China, ding served as a food vessel. So we will pour the soup inside, the ingredients inside, then we'll set up a fire below the ding. It becomes a cooking vessel, and it can be a container for the food, for the small ding, because the ding actually comes with different sizes also. It is a spiritual utensil. What does that mean? Actually, it was buried with its owner as a spiritual utensil. The number of ding a person owned was determined by his rank in the social and political status. So actually, it's a how we say it, because if your position is higher, you will have like a large number of ding than the other people, right? So I'm going to share a very interesting piece of bronzeware called 大克鼎. So, but before I'm showing you a video about 大克鼎, I have a question for you. So how many legs does 大克鼎 have? Okay, so remember the question and bring the question with you. Let's watch the video. Okay? Okay, everyone? Anybody sleeping? No? I hope so. Okay, right? So this video is going to help you learn about the life of ancient Chinese through bronzeware. Okay? Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to play it again. It was born in the Western Zhou dynasty. Which was 3,000 years ago in China. So the height of this bronzeware was 93.1 centimeter, and the diameter of the mold is actually 75.7 centimeter. So the weight is actually 201.5 kilograms. So actually, you can imagine it's about 2 newborn elephants. So what do such finely detailed ornaments represent? So these ornaments were made on huge bronzes with precision. So they are very clear and beautiful, right? It requires masterly craftsmanship, not only shows the wisdom of the ancient Chinese, but also make Chinese bronzewares enjoy a high reputation and artistic value among the world's bronze. So the writing on bronze is called epigraphy. And this is also the most important discovery on the 大克鼎. So you may want to ask, what do these inscriptions record? So these inscriptions actually said that this is a person called Ke built this 大克鼎 to tell the world that he was rewarded by the king of Zhou due to his grandfather's work for the king. So actually, these ancient Chinese characters, you may see that on the bronzeware from 3,000 years ago, actually have been perfectly preserved. And many characters are still used by today's Chinese. So 鼎 is usually used as a ritual vessel, it's like offering vessel. Okay, so this 大克鼎 is now in Shanghai Museum. If you want to have a look at the real piece, you may go to Shanghai and have a look. So, do you remember the question I gave to you before we watched the video? So, how many legs does 大克鼎 have? Do you have any ideas? 3, right? I heard some answers. Right, you get it right. 大克鼎 actually has 3 legs. Okay, so let's move on. As 大克鼎 is a type of bronzeware, right? So I'm going to explain to you like what is a bronzeware, and I'm going to show you some more other bronzewares. Okay? So it was called gold or lucky gold in ancient times. So it actually contains red copper and other chemical elements, such as tin and lead that turns green when rusted. You can have a look at the picture on the right corner. You can see the gold color actually is the original color of the bronzeware. So after it get rusted, it become like green or some darker green, like what other other area of the bronzeware shows, right? But you can remember the original color is the gold color. So bronzeware was regarded as a ritual instrument of social status. It's actually a daily luxury in the old times. So it's normally used by the king or the emperor and the emperor's relatives or the ministers, right? Okay, so actually some of the bronzewares have the similar functions as what we are using in our daily life. I'm going to show you some examples and you can make a guess what was it used for in the ancient times, okay? So first one, I'm going to show you a bronzeware called Qiaozhuo. So you can make a guess like what is used for in the ancient times. Actually, it was used around 2,800 years ago. It's actually a kettle. So they will pour the drinks or water inside it, then use it to pour to different glasses. So it's used as a kettle actually. Okay, the second one. You can see this little fish. The details on the fish is very clear. It's actually a design inside the bronzeware. Can you imagine that this was like designed and built in like around 2,800 years ago? That's really amazing, right? Can you imagine what it's used for? This one is a little bit tricky. I'm going to show you the answer. So it's actually used as a basin. So for the emperor and the minister, they have this ceremony to clear the hand, and this is what they use. Okay, next one. Okay, I think this is easier to guess, right? It was used around 2,500 years ago. So actually it's a wine pot. It's basically have the like similar shapes, right? They pour the wine inside, and this is a wine container at one point. Okay, next one. This one is called Wang Zhi Ding. It was used around 2,200 years ago. So this is a type of ding, right? Remember what I introduced about the ding? They have several usage, right? This one is actually a small size one. So it use like similar to a food vessel. Okay, so remember the 大克鼎 in the video is actually a permanent collection in Shanghai Museum, and it is the start of Shanghai Museum actually. When you go to Shanghai, you can go to Shanghai Museum and have a look at the bronze wares by yourself. Okay, now so I'm going to share a fun fact with you. There are a lot of bronze wares collections in Shanghai Museum, including different types of ding. So the building of Shanghai Museum itself is actually inspired by a ding. As you can see, this is the top view of Shanghai Museum. It looks like the 4 legs ding I showed just now, right? So you see, it's a very special design, and this is the front view. Yeah, if you come when you have the chance to come to Shanghai after the pandemic, you really need to go to have a look. It's really interesting and really beautiful. Well, now I'm going to introduce Shanghai to you a little bit, okay? So, Shanghai not only has Shanghai Museum, but also many other interesting places. It's a well-developed world-class modern city. And let me share some basic information about Shanghai with you. Okay. As you may heard of Shanghai before, Shanghai is located at China's east coast. According to the map, I labeled the star with the position of Shanghai. Okay, there are many multinational companies, famous hotels, banks in Shanghai. And in the picture is Qiaozhuo area on the left top corner. There are many fancy buildings there, as you can see. Can you see the tallest one? Let me see if my marker is working today. Okay, can you see this one? This one is actually the Shanghai Tower. It's around it's 632 meters high. It's equal to almost 31 coconut trees stacked together. That's really high, right? And on the right-hand side, this is an ionic building. The design is very special. This is the Oriental Pearl TV Tower with this distinctive pink spheres, right? Okay, so Shanghai is a popular tourist destination, well known for its historical landmarks as well. As you can see on the top is Jing'an Temple, and on the right corner is the City God Temple of Shanghai. And now we are come to the summary of today's class and today's sharing. So remember, at first we share a story with you that the name of the Yu, the great controls flood, right? Can you remember what ways you used and what you learned from the story? And after that, I introduced the 大克鼎. It's a type of bronzeware, and it comes with 4 legs, and is in the Shanghai Museum. And after that, I introduced other bronzewares to you. And you remember some special one with some special usage, right? And it's actually the 大克鼎 is 3 legs. Sorry about that. Yeah, for the bronzeware, I introduced some very special piece that have similar usage in our daily life, right? And in the end, I introduced Shanghai with you, share some basic information with Shanghai, the Shanghai Tower, right? The orange TV tower, right? These are some reference link that regarding bronzeware or other informations that I have shared during the class. If you want to have a look by yourself, or you want to have some other details informations, you can go for this link.